Hello everyone. I'm Flavia Gez, and I'm a behavioral analysis specialist representing The Management. The Management is a company from Romania, and it's one of the partners in this beautiful Agritainment project. What I want to do today in this hopefully short speech of mine is I want us to look at edutainment from a behavioral perspective, not only as a nicer way to teach, but as a more efficient way to move people from information towards action. Now, what does this mean in the agri-attainment context and why it matters? It matters because we're not simply trying to explain agriculture or to explain sustainability or rural heritage or biodiversity. We're actually trying to make these topics feel understandable, feel memorable, and personally relevant, because that's very important. So, classic educational models can transmit knowledge and they are still useful, very useful. But when the goal is behavioral impact, information alone is rarely enough. We need to be formed, not merely informed. So edutainment works in this context because it speaks to how people actually learn. They learn through attention, they learn through emotion, through participation, memory, and social meaning. So the central idea of my little presentation today is simple. People do not change because they have received information. They change when this information becomes an experience that they can remember, they can repeat, and that they can carry into their real life. Now, let's talk about the behavioral challenge. The classic model often rests on a very logical chain that you can also see on the screen. We give people information, they understand it, and then they act differently. On paper, this looks very clean and straightforward. But in real life, this is much more messier. We can know something and still not use it. We can understand the importance of biodiversity, of local foods, or sustainable practices, and still not change what we buy, how we teach, what we recommend, or what we prioritize. And that is because behavior is not only driven by knowledge. It is also shaped by habits, by emotions, by social norms, identity, convenience, and last but not least, the perceived meaning of an action. A traditional lecture may answer the question, what should I know? But behavior change asks different questions. Behavioral change asks, why should this matter to me? Can I see myself doing this? Will I remember it later? Did I feel something strong enough to make this stick? So edutainment begins exactly there, in the space between understanding and action. Edutainment is often misunderstood as something that makes education fun. That's only a surface. Its deeper function is behavioral activation. What this means, it means that it transforms content into a lived sequence, a story to follow, a choice to make, a problem to solve, an object to touch, a role to play, a question to discuss, or a result to discover. These elements matter because they recruit more of the person into the learning process. The story gives us structure. Emotion gives us importance. Choice gives us agency. Social interaction creates norms and shared meaning. And hands-on rehearsal turns an abstract idea into something the learner has already practiced once. This is why edutainment is powerful in agricultural and sustainability contexts, because it can make a seed or a soil sample or a traditional crop or a farm process become way more than information and content. It becomes an encounter. And once people have encountered an idea personally, they are more likely to remember it and talk about it further. From a behavioral point of view, we can think of edutainment as a chain. First, attention opens the door. Without attention, even excellent content becomes background noise. Second, emotion gives meaning. Surprise, wonder, curiosity, pride, concern, or joy tells our brain this matters. Next, participation builds memory because the learner is not only hearing the idea, they're doing something with it. Repetition makes it usable. The same message appears through story, through activity, through reflection and discussion, not as a boring repetition, but as reinforcement of that idea. And finally, social sharing carries the learning home. When people tell someone else about what they saw or what they did, they rehearse the message again and help transform it into a social norm. And this is the behavioral difference. A classic model often ends when the learning session ends. A good edutainment experience continues through memory, through conversation, and of course, through later choices. When we say edutainment is more efficient, we should be careful. It does not always mean shorter. It means that every minute of attention does more work than in the classic model. The evidence from active learning is very relevant here because when learners are actively engaged in the process, outcomes tend to improve compared with passive lecture formats. There's a bunch of research on gamification and entertainment education that also point in the same direction with an important nuance. Design matters. It's not the presence of games, stories, or just fun elements that creates the impact by themselves. The impact comes when all these elements are aligned with a learning objective and the desired behavior. In other words, edutainment is efficient because it reduces waste. And here's a pun intended. Less wasted attention, less forgotten information, less distance between knowledge and action. It also creates more opportunities for the learner to care, to try, to remember, discuss, and apply. That's a stronger return on the educational moment compared to the classic models. And this is why the agritainment context is so promising. A farm or a nature venue is not just a classroom with plants. It's a living behavioral laboratory. People can see processes, they can touch materials, they can smell the herbs, taste the products, they can ask questions directly and observe the relationships between the land, the work, the food, the culture, and sustainability itself. And a lot of recent agritourism research highlights dimensions such as place, authenticity, interaction, and learning as being central to meaningful experiences. That combination is behaviorally very powerful. Why? Because place gives us context, authenticity builds trust, interaction makes the learning process personal, and learning itself gives the experience direction. In a classic classroom, agriculture may remain an abstract topic. On a farm or in a natural setting, it becomes visible, it becomes sensory, it becomes social, and it is real. And when
Flavia, 30 seconds. 30
okay. So when people perceive an experience as real, they are more likely to attach meaning to it, and that meaning is the bridge between educational content and behavioral intention. And I will skip straight to my last slide. And thank you all for your attention. I will be making all my slides available for whoever is interested in them. Thank you very much. I will also back up what Igor mentioned. Please don't forget to fill out our forms and give us feedback so we can do more of these wonderful things in the future. Thank you very much, everyone.
Thanks, Flavia. And now we are